And you speak about language and how you use it in very certain ways. So you define leadership as an activity. So when you talk about a leader, what is it that you're talking about if it's not authority?
Right. Okay. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about how we think of leadership here, and that will really inform the way you might receive or interpret everything else that we talk about. So I want to start by saying we do place a lot of emphasis on language. And a lot of times people might say, that's just semantics. And they're right. It actually is. Semantics is about the meaning of words. And so it is. But to say it's just semantics is a little weird to me because it makes all the difference in the world. There's and maybe I'll explain a vantage point I come from is I studied communication in graduate school. And one of the things that we learn is something called Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, or the more common name is called the theory of linguistic relativity. And essentially, what it says is the limits of our language are the limits of our world. That if we don't have words for something, if we can't put it into language, then it kind of doesn't exist. It might be there as a nebulous thought, but it can't even be a thought because thoughts happen in the context of language. And not just that, our own identity is born out of language. It's when we are very young, too young to remember anything, where we're literally a blank slate. We don't remember anything because we don't really have the apparatus to log memory. We don't have language, and our brain structure is still kind of finding its way. And in the process of going through the early maturing stages of infancy, toddler, and early childhood, what's happening is we're developing an understanding of the world along with our taking in of language. They're really inseparable. I mean, I can't hold this up without you somehow in thinking about what is this and putting it into language, at least in your mind, and at least very quickly. And with that language comes a whole set of meaning, a whole set of assumptions, and we don't even realize the degree to which we're language-based beings. But I would say it this way: if you have a dog, or you ever know somebody who does, and you understand that that dog has a olfactory sense, a sense of smell that us humans are completely unaware of, but for them it's a whole layer of reality. This layer of sense around it informs so much of their world to the degree we can't understand. But we can understand that similarly language shapes the way we as humans experience reality. So now that's a lot, but now to say, well, okay, well, let's just talk about the word leader, and the way we use the word leader is unhelpful, and in fact might be the opposite, because we have it really confused. We have leader when we really mean authority. Take me to your leader. Well, really, it was like, take me to your authority. Or we talk about our leaders in government. Well, are they really our leaders? I mean, follow them if we didn't have, and we don't seem to like them very much. They're authorities. When we elect them, we might call them leaders, but they're not. They're authorities. We're electing them not to lead, but to have say over resources and decisions. So it's an authority-based thing. Now, what's the difference? Why is leadership different? Well, leadership is not based on a position or a title, and leadership is not a character trait. Yet these are all the ways we talk about leadership. We say leadership is, some people are born with it, or you're not. Say things like, and pardon the gender bias here, but here's how it was described: is either the man makes the moment or the moment makes the man. And then that's a question that, all these leadership thinkers would think about. But all of that is based on an error, something I call the fundamental leadership error. And it is that we confound leadership with authority. And all we have to do is just separate them. That's all. And they can overlap a little bit. Someone could be in a position of authority, but still practice the activity of leadership. And that is what's happening. And that's what creates the confusion. You can have someone not in a position of authority practicing the activity of leadership. I've certainly been led by people that I had authority over. And there are people that have authority over me, and maybe you can relate, that I would never want to follow if I didn't have to. So the sooner we can make that distinction, the better we are. So the language matters. And I think we've just lazily lumped together leadership and authority. And there's so much benefit for pulling them apart, not just for the study and practice of the activity of leadership, but also, and maybe even more so, so that we could really have people practicing authority and understanding authority in a way that's so much more effective, so much healthier, because we have it separated from leadership, and we don't make leadership do the job of two separate but kind of related things, leadership and authority.